Okay, the next topic is topic 2, basic input and output. So I have gone over this a little bit last week, but I'm going to hit it again just to make sure, because this is another thing that you do very often. I've got a variable I'm creating called user info, and I'm doing an input statement. And in that input statement, I'm saying enter your favorite number. So this is what I'm prompting the user for. So I had a couple of assignments where you guys were utilizing input, but you weren't putting anything to prompt the user. So what happens to the user is they just get an empty screen with a cursor, and they don't really get an idea of what to do. So you need to put a prompt in there so the user knows what you're asking them to do. So I'm saying enter your favorite number, and then the screen's going to wait until I type in a number, and then I'm going to print that variable. So I can run this, enter your favorite number, I don't know what, 7, I hit enter, and then it continues on with the program, and it prints that variable that I've just created. Formatting can be included in outputs. There's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to show all 3 to them to you. I prefer the last one, but there are some cases where the last one won't be able to do everything you want to do, so you'll have to utilize some of these other ones. This is something that is not trivial for people to understand, so you might want to have a good look at it, maybe do a little bit of online research to get comfortable with it. But this first one is using the string modulo operator. The first example takes numbers from the tuple, which we're going to do tuples later. They're somewhat similar to lists, so you can just think of them that way right now, and inserts them with specific formatting. Oops, this doesn't fit on the screen well. The formatting reads like this. So I've got a %2i. The %2 means that I am reserving 2 spaces to the left of the decimal point, and then I means that it is an integer. And the second one here, you can see I've got this. This is where I'm doing the %2i, and the second one I've got %103f. So for 103f, 10 is stating that I am reserving 10 spaces to the left of the decimal point for digits that I may or may not have. And you'll see that when I do the output. And then the 3 means it will be 3 items after the decimal point, and it will pad out if there aren't enough numbers. So let me just cut that. All right. So now you can see here's the output for my print statement. It says I am showing, and you can see 1. So I'm doing %2i, and what it does is it takes this %2, or this % goes over here and grabs the first item from this tuple, which in the tuple I've got 1.555. It's taking that and inserting it here, reserving 2 spaces to the left of the decimal place. You can see there's a gap here. It's because I'm reserving that space for another digit if I want it, and then it is converting it to an integer, so it is truncating off the 0.555. So I end up with an extra space and just the number 1. And then I'm also saying on the second one, again, I've got the %, so it's going to go over here to my tuple, and in this case it's going to grab the second one because it's already used up the first one. It's going to grab the second one and try to take this 05.33 and fit it to this formatting. So you can see I'm reserving 10 spaces to the left of the decimal place. I only need 1, but I'm reserving 10 of them. And then I'm saying give me 3 decimal places afterwards, and it's going to pad that out. So you can see here I get a whole bunch of gap here because it is holding 10 spaces for me in case I need them, and then the 5, and then 0.33, and I'm telling it I want 3 decimal places, so it puts a 0 at the end even though it's not part of my number. So that's how you do the string modulus, or modulo. I'm going to put this back now and get rid of my goofy commenting that didn't work as I wanted it to. So down here is another way you can do this with strings. So I'm creating a variable, and that variable is again a tuple of 5 items: my name, I'm a teacher, he, and my age, and then another person that I just made up, Jane Doe, she's 29, and then I've got this variable called sentence format. And sentence format, I'm doing those percentages again. So I've got %s, so I'm saying get me a string, or get me an item and assign it as a string, give me another item, assign it as a string, and do it again and again and again. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in the string. And now I'm going to print my variable sentence format utilizing data from my other variable, person1 bio. And I'm going to do it again with person2 bio. So if I run this, you can see it inserts the items from my tuple into my sentence. So instead of getting the %s, I get Matt Gilbertson is a teacher. He is 39 years old. Jane Doe is a student. She is 29 years old. So this can be pretty powerful if you have like a structure that you're repeatedly having to output, perhaps some kind of a user profile or things of that nature. But the person changes over and over again, but the profile structure doesn't. You can create variables with the person data and then continually insert them into the structure to get the output that's appropriate for that particular user. That's a pretty common use of this. Continuing on, you can also use something called .format in a similar way. You can see I've got a sentence format variable, and this time I'm doing brackets. So I've got squiggly brackets, or braces is what the appropriate name is. So I've got a set of braces, and then I'm going to print that variable, but I'm going to put a .format at the end and insert all of my information. So for each one of the braces, it will grab one of the items from my .format and insert it there. So it's doing the same thing with Jane Doe. If I run that beginning part, you can see that it turns it into a sentence as I'd expect. One thing you can do with the .format is you can also assign order. I don't have a good reason for this, but it's just something you can do. Maybe you'll find a use for it at some point. But I can say, here's a variable, and in this time, instead of just doing braces, I put an index position in each one of those braces. So then when I grab my format, it will grab the index position assigned. So index position 4, as I said earlier, it's a zero indexed programming language, so it'll be the 5th item in the list. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll insert the number 29 into this position, and et cetera, 3, 2, 1, 0. So it makes a junk sentence here because I did it all in goofy order, but you can see that it inserts it in the order I assigned based on the index position. Okay, so f strings. This is the way I typically like to do text formatting. It's not able to do everything, but it is quite useful. The part that's sometimes a limiting factor, especially if you're working with Python in a corporate environment, is if they have not moved to at least Python version 3.6, you can't do it. You know, supposedly Python 2 is dead now, but I'm sure there are still companies utilizing it. You wouldn't be able to do this in Python 2 or any previous version of Python 3 before 3.6. But when you can use them, they're great. So here's a very simple example. I've created 3 variables, first name, last name, occupation, and then this is how you use f strings to output it. So here's a print statement. You start with the lowercase f, and then everything in apostrophes is what you actually want to output. You see I've got those on each end of this statement. And then you just start typing what you want to type to the screen, so the person named, and wherever you want to call a variable, you just put it in braces. So I can say, give me whatever this variable is, which will just turn into Matt. Give me whatever this variable is, which will just turn into Gilbertson, and then give me whatever this variable is, occupation, which will just turn into CIS instructor. And when I run this, you can see I get a nice clean output. Very easy to read in the code, very easy to understand. The thing that always trips people up is if you don't have this last apostrophe or this last parentheses, it gets confused. So just make sure that you have those. So like, for instance, if I take that last apostrophe off and I run this, you see I get this end of line while scanning string literal. That's a dead giveaway that you've missed your apostrophe at the end.